Hello guys, welcome to our new Hall Brothers RC YouTube channel. I'm Jamie. Today I'm going to talk you through my 5-step process of how I set up the steering on mine and Tommy's cars to make sure that it stays consistent and works just as we'd want it to. So I think this is something that sometimes, you get to the end of the build and you think, I don't want to set up the steering. You just kind of rush through it, and sometimes it might not work as it should. You get more steering one way or the other. It's not ideal. So here is my 5-step process of how I set up the steering. Okay, so step 1 is making sure that the servo horn is attached to the servo as straight as it can be. So to do that, you just need to power on the servo. So you can either plug it into a different car. If you've built this car already, plug it into this one. But make sure you've got no trim on your controller before you attach it, because you want to attach it as straight as you can at the true centre of the servo. This just makes sure that you don't have to put loads of trim, loads of sub-trim just to get your steering back to the middle, because that might not be ideal. So as close to the centre as you can get it. You'll never get it exactly perfect because of the spline of the servo, but just as close as you can get it to vertical should be perfect. And then you just need to attach it into your car. Okay, so step 2 is setting up the toe and camber. Now, we need to do this now because it's impossible to set your endpoints and set your car going straight when your wheels are pointing all over the place. So I've got to get this as accurate as we can now. You might already have your camber set. You might just be putting a new servo in, say, the car that you always run and you've already got it set. Or maybe you copied the link lengths from the book, if it has them when you built it and it's all ready to go. If so, just move on to the next step. But maybe your wheels are pointing all over the place. You just smashed the links together when you built it and you need to start from ground zero. If that's the case, I start by setting the 2 camber links to be equal in length and setting the 2 toe in lengths to be equal in length. Before you've even set anything, just start by doing that. Then I turn the car around and I just try to get it in a general ballpark first. So what I do is I'll adjust the 2 camber links until I can see that the C-hubs look as vertical as they can. Now, I look at the C-hubs because they're independent of what the toe-in is. If you look at the wheels, they'll be completely different camber angles if the toe's not set properly. Whereas the C-hubs, they will always look vertical if the camber is somewhere near straight. So I look at the C-hubs, try and get them as vertical as I can with the 2 camber links, adjusting them equally every time I turn them at each side. And that'll get your camber somewhere near in the ballpark, which then allows you to get your toe in the ballpark. So for the toe, I just look from the top, adjust the 2 steering links until I can see that the 2 wheels are pointing straight from the top. So then you will be in a ballpark at this point, somewhere near, which will allow you to then get at the point where you can get your 2 gauges out, just point your wheels straight, get your camber gauge out and set the camber each side and set your toe in as well. And again, this will be pretty accurate from now and it'll allow you to move on to the next steps. But once you've finished, I would just turn your radio on, turn your car on again after you've done all the steps and just recheck the camber with the steering as you've set it turned on, because that will probably will be a little bit more accurate than how we're doing it now. It's just that we need to get it as close as we can in order to set it up in the next 2 stages. Okay, so step 3 is looking at the angle of the servo horn and the steering link when the wheels are straight. So, in my opinion, when the wheels are straight, we want to have the servo horn pointing up dead vertical, and we want the steering link in here, this little one, to look horizontal from the top. So this just makes sure that the steering arc is working the same both directions, or as close to the same as it's going to be. So yeah, so to adjust the angle of the servo horn, if you look at it and it looks like it's leant right over when the wheels are straight, then that'll be because the length of that little servo link isn't quite right for your servo. So the book tells you to put 1 mil spacers in that little steering link, sorry. We've got 2 mil in there because for our servo to get the servo horn straight up when the wheels are pointing straight, it needs 2 mil in there. So we're in 2 mil in that link. And then also with our servo, the steering link from above is pushed back slightly from horizontal. So we've got 2 mil of spacers behind the ball stud here as well, just to make sure that that steering link looks dead straight. And that works the same as the servo horn. So if that's not quite straight, then the steering might arc slightly differently from left to right and create a different feel as you're steering around the track. So on to step 4. Okay, step 4 is setting your steering so that it goes straight. So to do this, you get to drive your car. So we do it in the kitchen. If you've got a nice strip outside, then you can drive it up and down out there. But I wouldn't turn your steering all the way yet to the endpoints because we haven't set the endpoints yet. So it would be easy to overstress your servo one way or the other. So what you want to do is just drive your car up and down, just drive it up, go up to it, turn it round, drive it back the other way. And we adjust the sub trim when we're setting the car to go straight. So on the Servo controllers, that's in setting and then base, and then the sub trim left and right. And just play with that until you get your car going straight, and that should do you to get it going straight. Okay, step 5. Once you've done this, everything's done. So we've got to set the endpoints. I like to do this on a surface with a little bit of resistance, like the carpet or Astro that we drive on, just because that makes the endpoint setting a little bit more accurate when we're driving around the track. I'll just put the car down like this, get the controller, and then we need to go to setting and then base again, and that's where we find the endpoints to the left and the right. Now don't worry if once you've set it, left and right is a little bit different, because that's a natural thing. The steering isn't exactly the same one way to the other with the way it works, so it's completely natural to have it slightly different setting one way to the other and look the same on the car. So to start with, I'll turn the endpoints down in both directions to make sure that we don't overstrain the servo. So once we've done that, I then turn the steering, and there should be a little bit of a gap because we've turned it down, and you'll just keep turning it up just until the steering arm touches the seat hub. And once that happens, just stop and then do the same in the other direction. So then just as you get to the end of the throw on your steering, that hub should just touch there. And at that point, your steering endpoints are set. So now your steering endpoints are set, your steering is also set. Hopefully this is a consistent and easy way to set up your steering every time, so it works just as it should. Now I'm going to do a quick recap, just so you guys remember. So, to start off with, power on the servo, put on the servo horn as straight as you can. Then, set the camber and toe in, and put the servo in as well. After that, check that the servo horn and the steering link are angled straight from the back for the servo horn and horizontal looking down on it for that little steering link there. For step 4, then you set your car so it's going straight, up and down, a little run that you've got somewhere, and then step 5 is obviously setting your steering endpoints. If you do them in that order, it'll always be easy, it'll always work. So thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, I'm sure there'll be more good videos that you're going to enjoy coming in future. And yeah, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.